Welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show. Today, I am joined by two powerhouse women whose careers span sport, music, coaching, and decades of leadership in fitness. First, we have Carolyn Erickson, a global fitness educator, consultant, and program creator with over 38 years in this industry. She is a longtime bar above specialist, co-creator of Extreme Hit Chaos, and a seasoned idea presenter. And joining her is her daughter, Juliann Faucette, who is currently a professional volleyball player turned musician, mentor, and coach at the University of Texas, where she also played and was inducted into their Hall of Honor as one of the most decorated volleyball players in school history. Juliann's journey from elite sport to songwriting and leadership in youth athletics is both powerful and inspiring. And she'll be joining us as a featured presenter at Idea World 2025. Welcome, Carolyn and Juliann.
Hi, Amy. How are you?
Hi, so good. I'm so excited to have you both here. And before we really kick off, we have a disclaimer. Carolyn and I have known each other for many years since we were babies in this industry, and we literally raised our babies together. So we have aligned in so many ways over the years. And I think IDEA was always the glue, aside from motherhood and our career jobs. So I'm excited to tell your stories today. And I'm so thrilled that you're on the Idea World program this year. And now that your daughter's presenting with you, this is so incredible.
No. I'm
It's
super excited for that myself.
super excited. Well, we're going to talk all about that and how it came to be and what you're going to be presenting. But first, I'd love for you each to tell us more about your career stories. So we'll start with Carolyn and give us all the goods of these 38 years.
You know, sadly, I think it's been 38 years for the last 3 years. So just counting out as I was listening to previous podcasts like with Jeff McMullen and Kia Williams and Jan Schroeder and all the wonderful people. I'm like, I'm really thinking it's 39 and a half, sadly. But yeah, it's been a long time. And I'm like, whoa. Yes. So long time. I've had a really wonderful career, and I'm like yours, Amy, which has been so clear. And you went from this to this, and now look where you are. Mine has been more like a maze all over the place, and I was like, okay, what's next? So I've had some really, really great opportunities in the industry. Obviously, I met you. Honestly, I think it was with Club One, Frogs, and when you were running clubs too. I mean, way back then. And then I just stepped away after being a district manager from 24 Hour Fitness, and I worked with Jillian Michaels as her national director of new business. That was amazing. And then Savvy Air Fitness, where I was the national education sales director. Just these little amazing, not little, they're huge, amazing opportunities that I've had in my career. And I feel like I get to bounce from over here to over there. I lastly left a position as vice president running 64 clubs for group exercise in Midwest. And now I reside in Austin, and I get to be close to this one. And the career has ebbed and morphed and grown, and sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards and all the things. So yeah, right now I'm teaching and still presenting different certifications, and obviously presenting for IDEA. So
Are you still doing fitness competitions? Physique?
gosh,
Yeah.
no,
Fair
that
enough.
was more when I was like 55. I had sort of that midlife crisis, 50 to 55. And so now being in my 60s, I ironically teach at like Sun City here in Texas, which is for the over 55 group. But I'm telling you, Amy, I don't take it down a notch. It's just as intense, and they're my people. So I'm really loving that, and also experimenting in the yoga arena these days, which has really been amazing.
Little lower impact. Well, you look show ready right now. If those of you
Um,
watching on video, so I'm like, you could be on stage tomorrow and probably beat all the 60-year-olds. I'm just saying.
It's just this right arm.
Yeah, Carolyn's best known for her shoulders and guns. Like she's actually been a model as well. You didn't talk about that. You didn't talk. You
You
left
know,
out.
did leave it a lot, but I was trying to be brief. I mean, and we could be like, I gotta give her, like, she's got a lot more than I'm gonna walk away after she talks about herself because it's just a lot of great stuff, right?
I'm so excited. So Julianne, let's hear your story.
Yeah, so really, athletics has been a part of my background since I was younger. I actually started out as a gymnast, ironically, being 6'2" now. I was a little petite girl, but my mom was a gymnast in college. And so when she saw me climbing and doing backflips off the bed and into the pool at 2 years old, it was kind of like her first thought to put me in gymnastics. And from around age 4 until I was 12, I was a competitive gymnast up until level 8. I thought I was going to be an Olympian. I was even taken to the national team gym to see if that was a possibility. And the coach, looked at me and
No, he
looked at my diet and looked at my feet and said, "You're gonna be way too tall," and he was right. So, I had to once I started hitting the uneven bars with my feet, I had to transition. So, I tried basketball. I did a little bit of cheerleading as a tumbler because I just didn't know what to do with all of the gymnastics talent that I had. I had been doing it for so long at that point, but someone had mentioned volleyball, and I remember my first camp, I kicked and screamed all the way there because I didn't want, I'm not really a people person. I've been doing individual sport this entire time. And after the first day, I never looked back. I loved the game. It was very easy for me to adopt because I had such good core strength. I had been leaping in the air, doing backflips. And so kind of, you have a daughter who plays volleyball. It's very graceful in some ways. It's a powerful sport, but a lot of it, comes from that core strength and being able to jump off the ground. And so I picked it up pretty quickly and it became my favorite sport. I was also a track athlete in high school. And so I dual sported for a while. I was kind of, teetering between both of those sports. And then I finally had to choose once, club volleyball came into the picture and we were going to nationals and regionals and all these different club tournaments that just took over. And then I went to the University of Texas. I had some options coming out of high school, which is really cool opportunity. I was the number 2 recruit in the nation at the time as a senior. And so it really had been between USC and Texas at the last second. And I chose Texas just because of the home feel. And at the time, Texas wasn't the powerhouse that it is now. And so it's kind of, not a risk, but it was outside of the norm for a California girl to choose, a Texas school when all the California schools when I was coming out were really good. UCLA was at the top, USC was top 5 every year. So I decided to take that risk and that leap. And I really connected with the coach who is still there after 25 years. And, he didn't say that I was going to start right away. He didn't tell me that I was going to, come in and take someone's spot. He told me I had to work hard. And I really resonated with that growing up with, a single mom, hardworking mom showing me that. So that was kind of what I gravitated towards. And went on to have a great career there and, wanted to continue and play professionally and play for the USA team. And I went and did all that. And for the past, I would say, 12 to 13 years, I've been playing overseas and in different countries like Italy, Japan, China, in France. And when I decided to step away to have kids, I thought, that's it. I'm done playing. And, I no one really comes back from that. So I took a couple of years off, had a child, my first child, and then decided, wait, maybe I can do this again. And came back out of retirement in 2020, went to Italy. And after I had my child, who was 6 months old at the time, and it was a hard experience coming back into it. So I again stepped away after that year, even though I had opportunities to play and continue. And then along came this American League that just started this year. And there was an Austin based team. I'd been living in Austin for the past 4 years. And couldn't pass it up. So I just had twins 2 years ago, and I have 3 kids, and continuing to play the sport that I have been playing for a really long time, and it's brought me, so many opportunities, so many different, things that I've witnessed in my life are because of volleyball and high level athletics. And I have been able to coach high school all the way to the college level now and give back in that aspect. So it's just been a lot of full circle moments lately, and now getting to, present and talk about kind of that mentality that I've been brought up with and continue to build upon as I play and coach at the IDEA convention is going to be really, really awesome. So,
My God.
See, now I'm leaving.
I know. Drop the mic. I mean, okay, so for everybody who's listening, if you just took that all in, let's just go back, first of all, to the number 2 recruit in the country. Holy shit. That's a big deal. My daughter just
I
got
said no
recruited.
swearing.
Or I said no swearing, and I'm the one who did it. That's huge, first of all. And then you went and dominated at the college level at what now everybody knows is one of the top 5 programs in the US. They've been national champions. You built the foundation with that coach. Now you're coaching with him. You were recognized by the university as one of their top female athletes of all time. And now you've gone on to have not just one baby and not just 3 babies, but a baby and twins, and
Right.
you played professional volleyball, and then you said, "I'm not done yet. I'm gonna go back and play with the very best women in the world that are much younger than me, by the way."
They
And
are. Yeah. Well,
excuse my
by a lot.
they don't see themselves while they're playing from their bladder being squished on, like, mom joke, sorry. But, I just think, first of all, I hope the audience took that all in, the magnitude, Julianne, of what you've already accomplished. And I know this is just the beginning of what you're going to do in your amazing career. And so we haven't even talked about music yet. We're going to get to that later. You're also an accomplished musician. So there's another quick side story that I want to share again because we know each other personally. Julianne happened to go to the same high school my daughter did, years apart, not at the same time. We lived in Colorado, came back, happened to go to the same exact high school. So I'm looking around the trophy case because when I had found this out, I was like, "Do you know you have an All American who played volleyball here? Where is the trophy? Like, what's happening here?" And he goes, "Oh, I know that girl. We're going to get the trophy." The athletic director told me, "You are the only athlete that because you had a single mom," and I was working with your mom at that time. That was a tough time. Your mom had a job that required her to be at the club probably 60 to 8 hours, 80 hours a week. And she's a single mom of 3. But the league director used to make it a point to get you to and from practice so that you could be on that team because you were so darn good that you were that good that the coach league came and picked you up and took you to practice so that you could play. Like, that's mind blowing too.
Now,
So there wasn't a question there. I just wanted to just say, wow. Also, I've heard some really funny stories of your mom getting you from one sport to the other on time.
oh yeah. Yeah.
That's what you're
It's
great.
that story. I was thinking about that when she was saying she was track and volleyball. Yes, the story that I just will never forget. Shall I share?
Yeah, quickly. Yes, I remember it.
Shall I share? It was during it was like May, like it was around this time. I think it was like Memorial Day though, but I didn't, as a single parent, you're just doing what you need to do. And she had a volleyball tournament in Anaheim where all of the volleyballs played. And then she had CAF for track down in Poway, and it was the same day, same weekend. Like, we can do that. Not a problem. We can do that. We'll just, we'll look at the clock in Anaheim. I'll give you the cue. Come off the volleyball court. We'll get in the van, the minivan, and we'll drive down the 5 and we'll go. Well, we did that. We got in the van, and the traffic to San Diego was not, it was just, you couldn't even move.
Yeah.
You couldn't even move. I was panicking because I gave myself, I think it was an hour and some minutes, and I gave myself 2 hours. And so when we had gone like a few miles in an hour, I knew that we were not going to make it. So I put the flashers on and drove in the median strip. Like, I'm just like, and I'm such a rule follower. So I'm freaking out anyways, because I know that I'm doing something illegal. And so I'm going, and then she's she's crying, and I'm like, it's okay. Mommy should have just told you to pick one. No, of course. So I was blaming myself, and then she like had the goal. She says, I have to pee. And I said, well, I can't stop. So I'm like throwing the water bottle in the back so she could pee in the water bottle in the van, and I didn't have to stop. Um, Moving forward, we get there. I mean, I'm driving like a crazy person. Get there, I like throw her out of the side of the van. Like, go, 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 go. And and I'm trying to find a place to park here on Poway High School. And I'm running back to the fence now, trying to enter. I'm looking through the fence and I hear a gun go off. And I look, literally, this is between dropping her off, parking. That's it. I look and she's running. And there is the hurdles, right?
Yeah.
It was the hurdles, 100-meter hurdles. And I was like, oh, God. And then she won. She
And
won.
twin.
And
Yeah,
so I was,
yeah, champion as well.
it was the funniest story, honestly. It was just like, that's the moment that I was like, okay,
I
what are we
love it. I
doing
love it a
here?
lot. What were your events in track and field? Hurdles and what else?
I did both the hurdles, the 100 and a 300-meter, and then I was a 400-meter runner and a high jumper. So yeah, and some occasionally they would throw me in, the 4x1 or the 4x4 just to try and get some points. But yeah, I was really into track and I really loved it. And like she said, I won, but I ran to the fence and told her I quit track. And I can't do it anymore. So it's a moment, I always tell kids to, do multiple sports, create different types of movements in your life because, you're prone to injury if you're just sticking with one. And I think track was a great compliment for a while and I'm really glad I did it. And, unfortunately, sometimes you really do have to choose, but it is a great asset to do multiple sports.
Yeah, I think honestly, as a mom, starting her in gymnastics, any child, like the core strength from that and the balance and all of the things, I think every parent should start out their child in gymnastics and go from there, no matter if that's going to be the longevity sport or not. I just really think that helped. That helped. And she didn't even start volleyball. She was like
14, 13.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so most of the kids start super young.
Yeah. Same with our family. We said you're going to learn how to swim, you're going to do gymnastics, and you're going to learn how to run. Like those are the three mechanically things that you need to figure out so that you can be good at any sport. But okay, so you talked about you already gave away a nugget of how you raised this super, super phenomenal, athletic, accomplished woman. But I want to talk now about your mother-daughter relationship. It's almost Mother's Day. This is perfect, although this episode won't air till after Mother's Day. But how did you decide to team up? I know you're living near one another now. You're taking care of the grandbabies in your off hours. Um, how did you decide to submit for Idea World and teach your lessons?
This might be another nugget, but when, as a single mom, trying to manage what I wanted to do, I'm like, just because I have 3 kids doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything. Like I was very active and my sport was literally going out and being on the San Diego performance team and doing step, events for, Workout for Hope or challenged athletes, attending IDEA and being a part of that and all those things. And so my kids always came with me and we've always had a really good relationship, my children and I. I mean, I had 3 girls. I wouldn't even know what to do with the boy until now because you have 2. And I do have 13 grandchildren, by the way, so it's a lot. But I live now in Austin, and I see her every day, and I feel I'm so lucky. I feel so much gratitude about our situation because when she did commit to I didn't commit to USC and wanted to go to Texas, I literally bawled my eyeballs out. I like would be in the bathtub, crying, like she like, oh, it's passing away. Like I couldn't handle it. I'm really close to my girls. And the oldest one was, as far as she went, was Long Beach. And I was like, great, I got her right there. And then, spending so much time with my kids and then having her leave, that was heartbreaking for me. So we reunited a year ago. It will be a year ago in a couple of weeks. I relocated down here to Austin, and only because she's become a single mom
Mhm.
and raising her kids on her own. And she's like, Mom, I need some help. And I was like, you do? Like, what? Like, I didn't even like, a house was on for sale. Like, I was like, okay, like that to me, to be able to, have a big part of my grandkids' lives. I think for me, Amy, and as a single mom, working a lot, trying to make ends meet, no family, not having too much help. Like you said, I relied on people to help me manage to and from with the kids and whatnot. And I feel like God has given me a new, a chance to really get to know and spend time with my grandkids because I missed a lot with my own kids. I really did. And it breaks my heart to think about it almost every time I get a big lump in my throat when I talk about, you know, I remember getting let go from 24 Hour Fitness. And that next day, Tommy Lynn, my youngest, moved away to Santa Barbara to go to school. And I was like, wait, like I missed so many things, right? I missed so many things trying to make ends meet. And um, so being here now and reuniting was that initial piece. I mean, we work out together. She's still very active. I think a lot of it is because that, she got to see a lot of things and be a lot of places with me as I was being active. And so I thought, I think last year was a father daughter that spoke on training, right? And the biomechanics of training as an athlete. That's been done, but what about the mental mindset? And what about that role? And I know how good she is at it. And she's a professional athlete and it's a different level. And so I wanted to be able to share that. So that's where I thought of it. And I thought it'd be so cool to be on stage, in the international stage with my daughter. Like, let's
Ah,
keep going.
let's do this. Well, despite you having been pulled in so many directions when your babies were little, you have raised three amazing, resilient, accomplished daughters. So it is a blessing that you get to be raising your grandbabies now too. And I love that Julianne had the courage to say, "Help, mom, I need you." Yeah, help, I need you. Again, sometimes that's hard as someone who has it all and does it all, and you're at the top of your game to say, "I need help."
Yeah.
But the fact that you can just pick up everything. I was with you when you were selling your house and it took a minute and you're like, I need to get there already. You were flying back and forth. You're like, gotta go, gotta go. I
I
got
was like, "What's the problem? Just
yeah.
get this sold." Yeah, it
Was
was a lot. It took almost a year to have it sold. So yeah,
but what it all turned out. And now you're there. And I love
good.
it. But I
It
do miss
did.
you here in Southern California.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want to dig a little deeper with your career, Carolyn. This is all about you right now. Again, you in your intro, you were telling the audience how you've just taken so many shifts and turns, but the blessing in that was that you truly have had experience in so many different outlets of our industry. You've worked for vendors, you've worked for huge club chains, you've worked for when we work together, you've been a GM, you've been a Group X manager. Like you have had such amazing opportunities in this industry and you keep reinventing yourself, yet you're always true to who you are. And you've always been, first of all, you're always insanely active and healthy, and you're an example to everyone in the industry. But then the jobs that follow and the leadership roles you've taken have just been admirable. So I'd love for you to tell us more about longevity, about how you navigated those decisions. Like, was there a way that you were thinking about your career at that time, or was it really just because you had to take what was in front of you and that led to one other step?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, actually, Amy. I think I knew that from the beginning. I'm in an industry that I was going to love for a really long time. Like you said, I love being active. I love to lift weights. I love to take hikes and walks, and I'm always doing something just about every day still. And I think when I was in college at the University of Maryland and saw one of the um, teachers' assistants teaching PE, I was like, wait, you can do this? Like, you just learn, like, it's so different. That was in 86 when I graduated for college, right? So, and times have changed so much. And, I think opportunities are always there. You just have to keep your eyes open. Crazily enough, I think I've just invented an opportunity this week. I saw an opportunity. I wrote to the CEO of the company. I'm waiting for a response because now I'm not done. Like I really what else can I do to give my knowledge to people, to share what I know, to I just want to be impactful, and I'm just not done doing that. And hopefully I won't be done for a really, really long time. And so the positions and they were quite large. I even at one point for EOS Fitness was the national programming for Kids Club. I mean, that was a bizarre twist. And so I went back to American Council on Exercise and did some recertifications on being a youth specialist. And I was like, yeah, whatever, because it's continuing to be humble and continuing to find ways to be an inspiration to people, no matter what age. And so I know that through COVID, even my own business, which I've had since 2017, and under the umbrella of that consulting business, I've done a lot. And I continue to do a lot, but I'm now looking for, like, what can I do part time now? I want to really spend some time with these babies and watch them grow up and still make an impact. And so I'm doing some events at Sun City here in Texas. I just feel that there's more, and whether it be that I create those, I do have in the past, I should say, spoke to the collegiate level audience on career pathing in the fitness industry. I think you might have talked a little bit about that with Jeff McMullen. And it's just so expansive. Like there's just so much. And now with AI, like I'm not really good at it. I'm a little scared of it, but I'll dabble and learn what I need to learn. But I still feel there's going to be always a need for the presence of in-person people that have a real compassion. And I think I'm that person. So I just feel like the doors are always open.
Yeah, you always lead with that mentality, which is, I think, what opens the doors because you always have that salty. But I will also add that I remember you consulting, and that's always been your mainstay. You've been a programmer, like all of the times
Hmm.
you've written and created programs, like just such an incredible, expansive career. And what I love about your career story the most, Carolyn, is that you've made all of these jobs, really big jobs, work around motherhood and now grandparenthood. And that was always your value. And you made everything else work around that. And sure, you made sacrifices, and sure, it was hard. And you had to, compromise in a lot of time, but you always made sure that you were a mom first and now grandma first. And everything else takes second place to that. And as a fellow female leader, I admire that you've been able to put a career together that always put family first.
Yeah, and I think in our industries too, there's a lot of women and men that chose not to have families, right? And so I feel like I am extremely lucky to have this phase of my life, right? As going into being a grandma now for 17 years, and having that opportunity to have that phase of my life and still be in fitness is kind of unique. I don't know a lot of, I mean, we know just about everyone in the industry, but not a lot of people in that situation right now. So I get to speak on that firsthand.
Yeah, so good. Okay, it's Juliann's turn now. I want to turn the conversation over to here. And this is really our chance to introduce the rest of your life beyond athlete. So, here, Juliann, I would love for you to elaborate on how you have found an incredible identity outside of sport and how you're using your platform now really to empower young athletes through sharing your experiences, but also really just being an advocate, especially for little girls. And again, having a teenage girl who's going through everything you've been through, it means a lot to know that someone who she can look up to, can speak to her, pave the way, help her with all the challenges that with mental resilience and all the challenges she's about to experience. I love that you're out there empowering and helping youth. So tell us more about the rest of your life.
Yeah, so I think one of the main things that I realized throughout my professional career was that there's got to be some other identity besides being an athlete, in order to cope, in order to, have a little more perspective. And music has always been something that has been a part of my life. My mom sang national anthems when I was younger, and I grew up, seeing her do that and perform. And so that sort of got passed down to me, and I was in the choir when I was in high school. I was in musical theater. And even in college, I sang my own games, national anthems, and, Texas baseball games. I sang the national anthem for the Women's Hall of Honor, which, is our Hall of Fame at Texas. And I remember, being able to go to that because was singing the national anthem and realizing, like, hey, I want to be inducted into this. And I was able to do that, years later. And so when I went and played professionally overseas, when you before there was American leagues in America, to play professional volleyball, you had to go and
Mhm.
play outside of the country if you wanted to make money and have a career. And so right out of college, I went to Italy, and I remember getting off the airplane and being like, I don't know if I'm going to be picked up. We didn't have smartphones back then. It was a BlackBerry and a flip phone.
Mhm.
And I was unsure of, like, okay, here's the details in the email that I got. But, you're getting off in a new country and you're like, I'm supposed to be picked up. I have to drive 5 hours with this random person to my new apartment. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know, if I'm going to love the living quarters, if I'm going to, even know how to go to the grocery store, which I didn't. And so, little things like getting my car, that was my car, and it was a stick shift. And I had never driven a stick shift in my entire life. And, now I'm sure people aren't going to have to worry about that. But I had to learn those things. And all of it was alone. My mom didn't get to come with me. I didn't have an entourage. I just had myself. And hopefully, I was going to get my first paycheck. I remember having to call my mom and say, "Hey, I need some money transferred to my checking account because they haven't paid me yet." So, that experience alone caused me to reach outside of myself and realize, like, okay, I'm alone. It's very isolating. Not everyone speaks English here. And I need to, figure something out and look out for another outlet. And so I remember music, I just poured into it, and I started writing songs. And somehow, somewhere, an Italian musician heard my YouTube videos from when I was in high school and asked if I would be on a song with them, and ended up going to a studio and doing my first ever studio session. And so from there, it just was like a passion that, was already inside of me, but just I built on it. And I was like, I want to do this more. And so I remember in 2016, I got injured for the first time bad, where I was out with a knee surgery, and it was going to be quite a while until I was going to come back. I didn't know if I was going to be able to play again. And the doctor had said, with these knees, you might not ever play again. So I'm like distraught. But I remember saying, you know what, right now I'm going to focus on music, and I'm going to write an album, it was an EP at the time, which is just, 7 songs, but I'm going to write it from scratch. I'm going to work with a producer. And I went to the studio every single day and did my therapy, my knee therapy on top of that, and just sort of went between both of those. And it got me through an injury. And I just remember at the end of that road, when I put the EP out and I, had this final product, it wasn't about the music. It was about the fact that I went through this process with something else other than volleyball. And it didn't define me anymore. And I could be anything else that I wanted to be. So I started sharing that. And I started, really getting excited about how I didn't know about this when I was younger. I didn't realize that I could, have different outlets, and I didn't know that the pressure would get to me and I would have to learn how to cope with it in different ways. And so I started coaching and mentoring, younger kids, and that turned into just this passion for not only coaching the game and giving that back to the youth, but also sharing my experiences and sharing the knowledge of the mental side of the game and knowing that it's okay to not just be an athlete. And so I also created a podcast called Behind the Athlete, where I started interviewing other high level athletes and finding out the same things. It's like I was doing, dance, or I was, doing something else that wasn't their sport and it was making them happy. And so that to me was something that I became really passionate about and decided to, pour into the athletes that I was coaching. And then, as I was asked to coach at Texas last year, it's kind of the same thing. It was a mentorship job. It was less about the skills and the technique of the game of volleyball and more about helping the athletes manage their time, understand the mental side of the game. I'm sitting down and writing goals with them. And we don't learn that. We don't really have that at the forefront when we're, becoming a high level athlete. And so that's something that I'm really passionate about.
I didn't realize that college coaches were creating this role to help the girls. Usually there was a counselor on our athletic team, but we didn't have a fellow coach within our own circle of peers that could help us. I love that the University of Texas is investing in their athletes in that way. And
Mm.
again, really with all the challenges that athletes are facing in any sport, and even just academics alone is hard enough, but when you layer on all the responsibility of athletics and the rigorous schedule, and then all of the pressure of being in social media and being really a representative of the university in so many ways, these athletes really do need that help. So I'm impressed that the university is doing all of this, and so glad that they chose you, who has already done it for yourself, and you have so much to teach. So, this is the time I want to talk about what you are going to be presenting at World. But first, both of you have a long idea story. So, this is where I need to hear your idea story. And I know it goes way back to the way back because Carolyn took her babies everywhere, and everybody knows the family from Idea. But tell us your idea stories.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the kids at the booth at the Johnny G
Yeah.
prank cycle booth, right? I mean, I think that I was still looking at pictures recently of all of us at the booth and them helping just as much as I was helping, being on crank cycle and knowing the people that I know. In fact, we've been invited to Johnny G and Jody's home several times, whereby Juliann actually sang there while we all had these drums that Johnny G owned, and it was just incredible. So that's a big one for me, the crank cycle, and you guys, I can also remember being very pregnant with Tommy Lynn at Idea. I think it was like, how old is she? Almost 30. So yeah, I've been to about 33 or 34 Ideas. So I'm sure I have quite a few memories, but Crank Cycle is really the one that stands out the most for me and the kids.
Yeah, I would say I remember Idea being like such a fun event because it was like my mom would just let us run wild in the convention. And it was like a kid in a candy store. We got to try different, I remember the shoes or the boots that were like the trampoline boots. And we would like run all the way down and all the way back, and the photo booths and trying the Vitamix. That is I my love for the Vitamix started at the Idea convention. We would be at that hotline there. Yeah, we sure be at that booth just getting all of the samples, like the smoothies, the soups. We would learn. I was like, I know all the recipes. And, it's funny because some kids' experiences with their parents and their jobs, like they don't get to experience that. But we were in it. I think I'm where I am because I was around, nutrition and fitness and, different workouts. And we would go to booths and they'd be doing a workout. And I'd be like, my mom would be like, get in there. And I'd be like kicking these 30-year-olds butts. And I'm 13 years old, and so my idea experience is very nostalgic. It was always with my sisters, and it was always, the time that, my mom would be working, but also she would take a second, like when she'd have a break, we'd go, run around and do some fun stuff too together. And then also just remembering sitting side stage, watching her present and watching her do her aerobics classes or whatever it was that she was doing, like speaking or doing the fitness presenting to everyone else, it's like that's my mom. And the confidence that that gives me as a daughter is like, I don't know any different. And so I think it's just a cool, like the most cool experience. And then to full circle come back and be a presenter at this place that was like my childhood fun host. Yeah. Is so fun. And you just can't write this stuff up, universe, God, he's just on our side here and giving this awesome opportunity that I get to present with my mom, who I watched, present for the past 25, 30 years. It's crazy.
It's
Gonna make me
one.
cry.
I know. It's okay. We can cry on the Idea Fit Pro Show. It's
It's
fine.
just, well,
Um,
we haven't really talked about it. So, like, to hear her
Oh,
say the things that she remembers and oh man.
you know what, Carolyn? Your children are older than mine, so I watched your babies come to the show, and to me, Idea was always the family show for me. Of course, they can't go in the sessions and stuff unless you're teaching.
Mhm,
But the expo was where my kids would come too, and every
mhm.
year, except for the 2 years I was home with the very round belly and couldn't travel, I was at the show with babies in stroller or babies running around trying everything. It was so important to me having watched you raise your daughters, and it obviously impacted their lives, obviously. It was so important to me that kids get to see what mom does. And if I'm going to be away from my babies at any point in time during the year, this is what I'm doing, babies. And this is why, because I get to help people move their bodies and be healthy. And so I owe that to you, Carolyn, watching you raise your daughters and bringing them to the show and saying, like, this is important for the kids to see this and emulate and then feel empowered. And it obviously has changed your daughter's life. And now look how
Oh,
she's living.
I really appreciate you saying that, and you hope you set the tone for that, right? The expectation as a parent, you hope you do that, right? But you just don't know, and we really never talked about it like this, and so I'm thrilled. I really am.
Well, tell us about your session. So I know you're doing a few things at the event. Tell us what you're going to be doing and how people can participate.
Yeah, Julianne and I, we do Take It From a Pro on Friday the 18th. I think it's at 8 a.m. She's gonna be talking about mindset as we kind of give you a little preview, and then I'll be talking a little about the parental role on that, and but mainly it's going to be from her. And I did not provide the words. I did not. I may have been a single mom trying to do my best, but it really is something that she inherently came up with. And I think the sharing of this knowledge for whether you're a fitness pro trying to train for a competition, or you train fitness competitors or you train athletes, whatever that is, it's still the same mindset that's required. And I think it's a unique perspective actually coming from her that people are going to pick up some really great nuggets from
Mhm.
that. And then I have two other sessions. Triflex Fusion is just a workout that I created. I just wrote it for Idea, and it's going to be pretty cool. It's got three formats within a format. 30 seconds. There's intervals, and everything revolves around three. So I called it Triflex Fusion, and that'll be super fun. And then I have one, and that's on Saturday in the morning at 7, and then System Check Flawless Methods for Crafting and Categorizing Variations could be for instructors and personal trainers that want something new in their Rolodex for ideas. I think God has really blessed me with the opportunity to come up with new things. Like, I do sometimes feel like Madonna, I'm reinventing myself for the 38th time. But like, this is again a system that, like, how do you get creative? Not by going, well, I could do this and I could do that. Instead of like, have a system that works so that you can nail it every time and be totally different. So those two
Mm.
things will be on Saturday.
Julianne, anything to add that you're going to be bringing?
Yeah, I think, everybody wants to get in the mind of an athlete and know how we do it. And I think there are some simple steps and things that I'll be able to give and tangibles to take away. It's kind of like, the skill part I may not be able to teach you how to be that high of level of an athlete, but the mental part, it applies to everything in life. If you're a CEO, a business owner, or you're an athlete or a trainer, someone training athletes, which I'm sure the audience will have many of those, and even the parents. There will be parents of athletes in the audience,
Yep.
100%. And I think just as we both present, the takeaways are just going to be that, there are tangible things that you can be doing daily. It's a practice that you can mentally exercise the toughness that you can build. And so I'm excited to share that. I think it's something that's not just for the athlete, and it's definitely worth coming to and hearing from, someone who's currently doing it, also teaching it at, the D1 level, and then from a parent who watched it and who kind of, helped in different ways. And I'll just, tease a little bit, with nutrition and also workouts and also driving me to and from places and making sure that those things, felt
In
seamless.
traffic.
So, there's a lot of takeaways.
Yeah. But also, just to toot Carolyn's horn, she is not just a fitness competitor, she won a lot of trophies. Like, she also has that discipline and that resilience and that mindset from her own competitive days. So I'm just gonna toot Carolyn's horn too. She's got that same competitive DNA.
Yeah, just like you. I think you nailed it when you're like, my kids are doing this and my kids are doing this. We just try to do the best as parents, right? There probably is a handbook somewhere on how to be, do this and that, but everybody's different and you never know what's working and not working. Honestly, it's just habits and like, I make my bed every morning. Hey, guess what? So does she, right? Like, it's just a thing that you teach your kids. And I'm telling you, these 2-year-old twins, there'll be two this weekend. They have a schedule. They know, like, hey, this is time for this and this, and they know brush your teeth. They know read books. They know they get rocked to sleep, and then you ask them if they want to go to sleep, and they say yes, and they go in the bed. Like it's crazy. Once you build that, you don't even know that you're doing it.
Mm.
It's kind of like just trying to make it, but you want some kind of consistent ritual or schedule or something, right, that you create, and that's kind of how it all started for me, not even knowing I was building that foundation for the kind of things that she's created for her mental health. Yeah.
I love it. And then for her to tell you back, this is what I
I
learned
know.
from you, mom. Oh, love it. I can't wait for the session. Julianne will also, I think you're staying for Saturday. We'll have to get you in front of our teenagers and our college kids that are coming in for Career Discovery Day. They would probably love to meet you and hear a little bit of your story as well. So if anyone does have a teenager at home that's not old enough to come to the main program, but you want them to come to the expo is free. And as long as you are with your child and we don't turn them loose anymore. My kids did too. We don't turn them loose
I know
anymore.
you made it sound like you were like, sorry, oh boy.
Well, if they're over, if they're over 10, they're probably fine. It's a safe space for the most part.
They were
However,
good kids.
yeah, but we'll be like, if you're a parent at home and you want to bring them for that portion for Saturday, we do have Career Discovery Day. So look for that information on the website. Tell the audience how to find both of you. How can they follow you? How can they stay up to date on your projects?
I'm on Instagram at Carolyn Ann Erickson and just Carolyn Erickson on Facebook. I don't really do a lot of your social media, but you do.
Yeah, no, I mean, for me, Instagram is where it's at. I answer all DMs that I get from kids, parents alike. It's at Juliann Faucette, just my first and last name. I'm also on TikTok, but that's a little more of a silly, Julianne, which is fine. But I like to post a lot about, what I'm doing day in and day out, being a single mom, my workouts. I bring my kids to my workouts too. So it's kind of the same feel that I had when I was a kid, and they feel comfortable there and want them to kind of feel that way in the gym. Any recovery stuff that I'm talking about, obviously pro updates, coaching updates. So anything that I'm, doing in life is on my Instagram. I share a lot. And that's usually where I'm at and love to answer any questions that people have.
Well, thank you both so much for sharing not only your amazing stories, but your wisdom and your passion. Thank you for being here. And I've personally
Yeah.
just loved going down memory lane with you. So I love that. And as we lead out, I just want to say also from your fitness leadership to supporting these professionals, your career journeys are reminding us how powerful it is to really evolve, to adapt, and always to lead with heart and passion. And to our listeners, don't miss Carolyn and Juliann live at Idea World 2025 in Sacramento. You've got to register early. You have to choose their sessions. Again, sessions fill up and you cannot get in. So you got to get in, you got to get in early, sign up for their sessions, and then go to ideafit.com/world to do that and explore this one of a kind fitness industry where we all come together. For more information and inspiration, follow IDEA on all platforms at IDEAfit and explore more expert insights at ideafit.com. Until next time, this is the IDEAfit Pro Show, where fitness is our business.
That's good. Very sweet.